Chicago Newsroom 2.0 is made possible by the generous financial support of the Field Foundation of Illinois and generous Chicagoans like you.
This week on Chicago Newsroom 2.0, roundtable panelists Claude Robinson, Jeffery Beckham, and Hugo Balta join us to unpack some of the top news stories of the past week.
And Chicago Public Library Commissioner Chris Brown returns to the newsroom, joined by newly appointed Chicago Public Library Foundation CEO Eva Giglio. I'm Dr. Suzet McKinney.
And I'm Glenn Eden. Chicago Newsroom 2.0 starts right now. Chicago's financial challenges are front and center this week. From a remarkable budget showdown at CPS to another major departure at City Hall as the race for mayor gets even more crowded. We begin with Chicago Public Schools, where the board, led by members backed by the Chicago Teachers Union, rejected CEO Dr. McKinney King's budget and approved an alternative plan that restores jobs and programs. The catch? It relies on $150 million from the state of Illinois that Springfield has not committed to provide. Is that smart leverage or a dangerous fiscal gamble? Meanwhile, Mayor Brandon Johnson has lost another member of his financial team. Budget Director Annette Guzman has stepped down just as the city heads towards another challenging budget season. And finally, Alexi Janulius is running for mayor and Willie Wilson is back too. With an already crowded field of challengers, could more candidates actually help Brandon Johnson reach a runoff? Joining me now to unpack these three big stories are three incredibly smart leaders: Claude Robinson, president of Onyx Strategic Partners; Jeffery Beckham, CEO of Chicago Scholars; and Hugo Balta, publisher of Latino News Network. Gentlemen, welcome to the newsroom. It's always great to have you here with us.
Good to see you.
We've got a lot to jump into, so I'm going to get into it on the CPS budget fiasco. I'm going to look at you on this one, Jeffery. Let's start with the obvious question. How does the Chicago Board of Education approve a budget that relies on $150 million that the state has not officially or actually committed to?
Well, I mean, I think they're relying on hope quite a bit, and as far as I knew in my accounting class, hope is not a line item. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think most families in Chicago know what it's like to write a check and not know where those dollars are going to come from, but that's not a great way to run a school district.
Absolutely. Well, what do you make, in general about the CTU-backed board members essentially overruling, Dr. King on, which is one of the most consequential decisions that she's going to be making, as the permanent CEO?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it speaks to a lack of confidence to some degree in her leadership. It undermines her authority. This is one of the first decisions she's made since coming into the seat, especially one of the largest, and it really puts at risk our kids and our families more than anything else.
What does it say about, who's actually really driving the policy at CPS?
You've got two factions, right? You had a vote where it was 11-7, so you have the CTU that has a lot of clout in on that board, and then you also have a board that's really looking to be conservatively, fiscally responsible. And so you have this hybrid board that is really testing. This is a really big first test for them as they move forward in an administration that continues to be dinged for a lack of getting people to work towards making decisions that are in the best interest, in this case, of the students of CPS, but in general of the community in Chicago.
Absolutely.
And I would say just that both sides are negotiating, and then values guide most negotiations. And it's clear that those values aren't aligned yet. So it's a power struggle at this point in time. And for me, as a parent of students in CPS, again, you send the wrong message out the gate that you're more concerned about being in power, in control, than you are about the best interests of the students. Many who need you to lead with values that of compassion, that care about them and want them to succeed.
Well, I mean, but let's take a step back and consider the board's argument since you brought that up, Claude. Could this actually be a calculated strategy to force Governor Pritzker and Springfield to come up with the additional funding? And, if so, is this smart leverage or is this irresponsible gamble to the system?
I think that it's exactly that, an irresponsible gamble. Springfield has shown that they're not going to give bailouts. And they have their own budget challenges themselves. So to gamble on 300,000 students in CPS on a Hail Mary throw for 150 million, I think it's irresponsible. What we're going to see is that already when the school year already begins, they're going to find themselves, they're going to have to make cuts. That means layoffs for teachers and after school programs that parents depend upon.
Yeah, and I would also, Jeff, real quick, just to note for us that, it's the state of Illinois and their legislators. There are thousands of agendas that go into a budget, and there are thousands of people across the state that really don't give a damn about what's happening in CPS. So as you're negotiating, you need to understand that larger context. People are focused on their own municipalities, their own school districts, and to think that just because Chicago is Chicago, that everything's just going to move, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll pick up on this conversation and this subject in another roundtable. But moving on to the next topic, and that's turnover on the mayor's financial team. Annette Guzman says she's leaving to care for an aging parent. I think we should respect and take that decision as face value. But given the turnover with Mayor Johnson's financial team, is it fair to ask whether the city or City Hall, to be exact, has a larger stability problem, or does the breaking news that the mayor has tapped a financial expert from the municipal world and ratings agency world as the new CFO is showing that they're trying to steady the ship right away?
Yeah, look, I think
Hugo.
Family first, of course, always, but Guzman is just the latest of a number of people stepping down in a time when he needs his fiscal field generals. And yes, great to name somebody right away, but nonetheless, you're behind the eight ball. There's a lot that needs to happen between now and when you're facing the 2027 budget, which is you're facing a more than $1 billion deficit. So I think there's no time to kind of get acquainted on the new job. You got to hit the ground running, and that's a tall ask for anybody, regardless of what experience you have.
Well, what do you think is like the larger learning curve for the new CFO to have to tackle? I mean, obviously, the political learning curve is one, but without, a budget director, how damaging is this? And can she actually calm nerves as the new CFO?
Yeah, and I think you just said it right now, right? It's not just about the math. It's about the people. You need someone that understands the floor. It's a relationship builder, and you're coming into an administration that unfortunately has been unable to do that, to coalesce the city council. It's an administration that has a lot of goals, but unfortunately, as far as the scoreboard, not a lot to show it regarding getting things done.
Yeah, well, I think it's tricky because, right now with the mayoral election approaching, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the next topic, but how damaging is the perception of financial stability to Brandon Johnson politically, and especially when there are challengers that are out the gates talking about the importance of, coalition building and competence?
Yeah, I think it's damaging, but I also think it lands at brass tacks about how people see their lives every day and day to day. How does this trickle down into how I'm able to put food on the table? What are my tax bills looking like? Are there new revenue streams and taxes being created? What does it look like for the basic services that I need provided for my home? And I think at the end of the day, voters and our constituents of the city are gonna look at that as the brass tacks. If he can prove that the things that they're doing are keeping food on the table, costs down, and we know there's way more things that go into this than just what happens at the city level, there's a shot. But if not, if people feel like my roads and my streets aren't clean, my garbage, I see things changing, there's challenges with the police, the school, it all adds up and it becomes a snowball that's almost hard to overcome.
Yeah, when you look at where we've been with this, fiscal conversation over the past year, this is an opportunity to reset, but what would that look like?
Yeah, I don't know at this point, transparently, and I'm not sure City Hall does, which is part of the challenge, right? It's hard to navigate this much transition, this much turnover. There's continuity that has to be provided. It's the fourth quarter, and there's a Hail Mary needed to really win this game right now.
And the mayor did say to the criticism, he said he is the continuity that the city needs. So he's put it out there, and now you deliver.
Yeah.
But what does that represent, that continuity?
Right.
Because look, the track record is it's instability. Do I as a voter want continuity of instability? Hell no.
Right.
So if you're going to sell me continuity on a record of instability, especially in the economic front, you don't have my vote.
And look, there's only so many spinning tops and plates that you can balance on your hands, your knees, your feet, and your head at one time. Continuity is fine, but they're falling off. And so you gotta bring in folks, you've gotta have some stability, you've gotta find ways to really stabilize the city. I'm hopeful. We all wanna see the city be better. We all wanna see our mayor, whoever is in that seat, be successful. I'm hoping that this new CFO that's coming in can do some of that.
Well, thank you. That was our last question on that one, but I wanna move on to our last topic, and that's some new entrants to the race. Alexi Giannoulias has finally made it official. Right. I think it's the city's worst kept secret. Right. But with nearly 22 million available, does he immediately become the candidate to beat?
Absolutely. $22 million in the war chest buys a lot of ad space on television, radio, on every platform. And I think it favors the mayor, the incumbent, to have a crowded space.
Sure.
Right now, if the election were held this week, he's easily going to go into a runoff. Because even though he's unpopular, he has a very strong base. Yeah. That said, I do think we already seen Alexi challenge him on being competent and also compassionate. So I felt that slap in the face, right? Competent speaks to the mayor's inability to get people to work together. Again, beginning with the city council. And as far as compassionate, hey, you could be a change agent. There's only two ways to do it. You can be a bull in a china shop, which I think that's what the mayor has been, or you can be a progressive change maker, meaning little by little over time. I think if you're trying to turn a tractor trailer into a one-way street as if it was a compact car, you're in for trouble. And so I think Alexi out of the gate has the money to already be a front runner, and he already has the messaging that's squarely attacking the incumbent.
But money and messaging, what constituency does he bring to the table?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what he's gonna have to use, the money and messaging to build, right? But we know money talks. Absolutely. It also doesn't always translate to votes. And I think that is gonna be the question at the table, whether or not the people, and I've seen narratives on both sides of the aisle around Alexi really get behind him. There are questions about his, some past things that have come up, right? And I that's just on the table. I think that's something that he's going to have to use this time to overcome, to establish himself. Because if you want to, really go into deep dives about the progressive candidate and who that is, there's questions about everyone at the table at this point, right? So it's going to be an interesting time, and we'll see how the ads on my TV that pop up all the time begin to shift now that he's in the race.
Absolutely.
I think what's really good at this moment is that you mentioned something about what could it look like. So whoever the candidate is, to see all the mess that has happened, and they can do something that's not that as we're going forward. The city has been under attack by an administration that wants to dominate it, and who's that person that can come and inspire the residents of the city to work together and be a city that it can be.
Well, I agree. Well, last question, and now that we have our Willie Wilson back in the mix, and we know he comes with some well-documented treats in terms of gas cards and groceries. So how does he change the race, and what does he bring from a constituent standpoint? And could it be enough, especially to take some votes away, especially black voters, to really size up what the runoff looks like?
Well, I think Hugo hit it on the head when he said that, the more candidates in the race lead to better outcomes for Brandon. 3 times 9 to 11%. Fourth time, 9 to 11%, which helps a candidate that's been in the race multiple times, and it'll help the mayor in the end.
Well, thank you. You gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. Jeffrey, Hugo, and Claude, always great to have you here for your insights, and thank you. We look forward to having you back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the other side of the break, Suzet sits with Chicago Public Library Commissioner Chris Brown and newly appointed Foundation President and CEO Eva Giglio. Stay with us.
Got something to say about Chicago? Now's your chance to be heard. Chicago Newsroom 2.0 is launching Opinion, a new segment where everyday Chicagoans take the mic. Whether it's a neighborhood issue that's been ignored, a citywide concern that needs attention, or a fresh idea that could change our city, we want to hear from you. Submit your commentary at cantv.org/opinion. If selected, we'll invite you on air to share your perspective with all of Chicago. Experience the power of community television.
Welcome back to the newsroom. What role should a public library play in shaping the future of a city? Is it simply a place to borrow books, or can it also serve as an engine for economic opportunity, civic engagement, creativity, and stronger communities? Those questions are at the heart of a recent Crain's Chicago Business opinion piece arguing that Chicago's newest public library branch, located within the Obama Presidential Center, is much more than another neighborhood library. The authors contend that libraries are investments in people, places, and the human connections that help communities thrive. They describe the Obama branch as a model for how cultural institutions can strengthen neighborhoods by fostering learning, creativity, workforce development, and civic life. Joining us to discuss that vision is Chicago Public Library Commissioner Chris Brown, who co-authored the piece and has helped guide the development of the library's landmark 82nd branch. Also with us is Eva Giglio, the newly appointed president and CEO of the Chicago Public Library Foundation. As she begins her tenure, she'll share her vision for how the foundation can deepen its impact, expand philanthropic partnerships, and help ensure that Chicago's libraries continue to serve as indispensable civic assets for every neighborhood. Commissioner Brown, Eva Giglio, thank you so much for joining Chicago Newsroom 2.0. We're delighted to have you both.
Thank you for having us tonight.
Commissioner Brown, let's start with you. So your recent op-ed makes the case that libraries should be viewed not as public services, but as catalysts for neighborhood development. What do you hope policymakers and Chicagoans begin to understand differently about the role of libraries?
Well, I mean, hopefully, whenever we're thinking about development in our city, they're thinking about a public library at the heart of that neighborhood. So we've recently opened our 82nd branch at the Obama Presidential Center. This $850 million investment that features a public library. And so the same way that we think about parks and schools, when we're thinking about the development of our city, libraries should be part of that picture of a strong Chicago.
Absolutely. Well, throughout the planning of the Obama Presidential Center Library Branch, you write that the conversation evolved from building and designing to asking, what kind of future are we building for? What does that question mean in practical terms for the people who walk through the doors today?
Well, we were so lucky to get to work with the Obama presidential team, and that was one of the big questions was, as people bring change home, as we're thinking about this 82nd branch, it was this question of, what's the vision? And part of what we talked about was, what do we want the library of the present and the future to be? And it could have gone in many different directions. It could have been about technology, but as we thought more about the future we want in Chicago, we want a future of more human connection. So when you visit the branch, you see all of the different spaces. They feature Chicago partners that help activate those.
Okay.
So there's like a story studio prompt. So the kids coming in and visitors and tourists, they get to start their authorship journey. And we have a maker lab, but there's a maker in residence kind of bringing it to life, which is Alt Chicago. And their work is not just, 3D printing, it's really like how do you use maker spaces to build neighborhood space? So seating and fencing and kind of just how do you influence your built environment?
Absolutely. Very different than what we are accustomed to seeing in our public libraries, and very much a nod to the future.
And there's still books there too.
Yes.
And some very
of course,
special books.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, Eva, let's turn to you for a minute. You are taking the helm of the Chicago Public Library Foundation at a pivotal moment with tremendous public excitement surrounding the foundation's newest partnership and growing interest in the role that libraries play in civic life. So what's your vision for the foundation over the next 5 years, and how do you define that success?
Yeah, I mean, you said it right. For the libraries and the foundation, it's such an exciting place in this next chapter. We recently launched the 81 Club, which means that every student in Chicago's own student ID now is their library card.
Okay.
And that lowers barrier to access, really.
Absolutely.
So we're thinking a lot about activation. How do we make sure that our youth now find their space in the libraries too and come in the doors? We have U Media spaces, we have the Teacher in the Library program, and a lot of places for them to engage. And we want to hear from them, what do you want and what brings you in the doors here? I also think about the role of the libraries in literacy, both in terms of reading literacy, but digital literacy as well. And 25 years ago, the libraries led that charge with funding from the Gates Foundation. They started a Cyber Navigator program that provided computers and tech experts in our library branches to support Chicagoans. We have long led the charge around how to be responsive as trends shift in culture and technology. And now that is no different when it comes to AI. As the commissioner mentioned, we're building the library of the future, and that includes the AI, making Chicago the most AI literate city. And ultimately, we have 82 library branches, so it's really important that as a foundation, we're thinking about that programming that supports each community in their own unique needs, so that someone can walk in a library branch within their own community and find programming that fits their needs.
That's right. Well, speaking of AI and technology, one of the most compelling ideas in the op-ed is that the future of libraries isn't just about access to information. It's about creating spaces where people gather, create, and belong. So in an increasingly digital world, why are those physical community spaces becoming even more important?
Yeah, they're so important. There's actually a lot of research around the diminishing third spaces in our communities. And a third space would be something outside of home, school, or work, where people can come to connect, find safety, find opportunities to be with other people.
Sure.
And we know that rates of isolation and loneliness have increased over time. Libraries are really important anchor institutions in our communities. They are free, public, trusted resources that can really be a space where people can come in, find a place of joy, to foster curiosity, for safety, for rest. So there's a lot of important role that they play within our communities.
Absolutely. Commissioner, coming back to you, the article cites research showing that investments in libraries can improve reading outcomes, increase library usage, and strengthen workforce development, as well as generate long-term neighborhood benefits. How can that evidence help make the case for continued investment in libraries during periods of tight public budgets?
Well, I think ideally we're always thinking about how are we investing in our city, in our built environments, in our neighborhoods. And so that data is really compelling. It points to the double-digit increases in visitation, in kids checking out books, and attending story times. And as you pointed out, the actual kind of gains in reading that happen when you invest in a neighborhood library. I think what's also compelling is those gains last for a full decade.
Absolutely.
So they make a good case for when we're building a new library, when we're investing in infrastructure, they improve lives in our city, improve reading scores, and get more kids and families inside of our libraries.
Absolutely. I remember when I was a kid, the library
What was your branch?
My branch, I can't remember the name of the branch. It was in South Shore.
Okay, probably the South Shore branch.
But, it was a place of refuge. It was always fun to go to the library and exciting to see what we would find when we walked through those doors. So we want kids to feel that excitement again.
Absolutely.
So, Eva, philanthropy is becoming increasingly important to public institutions. Where do you see the greatest opportunities for the foundation to engage donors, corporations, as well as community partners in expanding programs and services beyond what taxpayer dollars alone can support?
Yeah, and the Chicago Public Library Foundation was started 40 years ago. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary
incredible.
By Cindy Pritzker, and it's really built on a legacy of civic leadership and philanthropy, and so we're so excited by the history of partnership and donors that we have. There are many proven models and success stories in place, from the Teacher in the Library, the U Media Spaces, Cyber Navigators, the One Book, One Chicago. So many amazing programs already in place. And in 2024, actually, an independent study that the data and analysis was supported through McKinney and Company found that for every dollar invested in Chicago Public Libraries, the community benefits $3 on that. So an annual economic contribution comes out to $440 million in impact. So that is really exciting to hear. We know that libraries make a difference. To be honest, though, that is only something that validates what our donors and partners already know, that investing in the libraries is a smart and also a long-term civic investment in Chicago.
That's right.
We have our Library Foundation Awards coming up on October 13th. Very excited about that. We're honoring Mo Willems and Gabriel Bump as our authors. That's a great way to be involved in the libraries, and the funding that comes from that event helps to support the programs that happen year-round at our 82 branches too.
That's phenomenal.
Including the Obama branch.
There you go.
The Obama branch.
Well, speaking of the Obama branch, what experience do you hope visitors will leave with when they're visiting, whether it's the Obama branch or any other branch throughout the city?
Well, I think it's been so special to see people visiting, and in that branch, there's a one-of-a-kind President's Reading Room. So it's 3,000 volumes, personally selected by the Obamas.
I was going to ask.
That give people insight into their reading journey. Like their culture, there's items from their personal effects, there's vinyl that's sort of an insight into like the culture and the stories that mean something to them as people who held the highest office. So, you know, all the magic that you normally find in a Chicago Public Library, but also getting to see a space that reminds us that people who held the highest office, they're readers and they're moved by stories and they're writers themselves.
Fantastic. Well, Commissioner Brown, Eva, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Best of luck with all the endeavors for the Chicago Public Library, as well as the Chicago Public Library Foundation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're absolutely welcome. Over to you, Glenn.
We want to hear from you, Chicago. Got an opinion on a topic you've been wanting to get off your chest? CAN TV is the place to do it.
Share your opinion with us in 250 words or less. If your submission is selected, we'll invite you to join us on the air to present your perspective to the entire city.
With that, we bring this week's Newsroom to a close. As always, thank you for making time for Chicago Newsroom 2.0 and CAN TV in your busy day.
Until we see you again, be well and well informed.